Yeah.
What's up, guys? It's the Four Horsemen Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Josh Romine. With me tonight, I got all the guys. I got Josh Van Cleve. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm here.
It's good.
Woo!
Love it.
Get ready, because here it goes, people.
Got Alex Deviney Stoner. How are you, Alex?
I'm here as well.
That's great. And we got Brent Walker. Hello, Brent. How are you?
I try to be all there.
That's great. You look good. So I'm happy about that. So this episode, we are going to pretty much just talk about a mock draft that we started doing. We did a little slow email draft. We've got the first 5 rounds in the books, and we were going to try to talk about it yesterday, but nobody could get online, and we weren't done. So we moved it to today, and we got 5 rounds done. So I think we got enough to talk about. But I want to throw it to Alex and let Alex pick the first subject of tonight's episode.
And it can't be Isaiah Crowell.
It can be. It can be whatever the hell you want.
Honestly, I'm a little shocked at how uneasy I feel about the first 2 rounds. Like, I was going through, and there are just some players that I'm just not super excited about. Once you get to and then I'm trying to pull up. Is our thing saved somewhere so I can actually see it? I mean, I'm trying to get to our.
I have it. Do you want me to read off the first round?
Well, here. I mean, like once we start getting past, LaShawn McCoy at pick number, was that 7, 8? Yeah, that pick number 8. Right afterward, I feel like you almost have to go. If you're looking for a running back, you're looking at Jordan Howard, Melvin Gordon, DeMarco Murray, which DeMarco Murray is, a little more stable, but then Devontae Freeman, Todd Gurley, Jay Ajayi, I feel like after McCoy, I think probably other than DeMarco Murray, I think he's a little bit more safe. But after those, like just a few guys, there's some question marks that I'm looking at. And I'm like, I don't know if I love that I'm putting this much into, And I think the wide receivers are kind of the same way. You're questioning what you should do with guys like DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins is kind of a player this year. So
if you're questioning it at running back and you're questioning it at wide receiver, what are you willing to do if it's even and panned out throughout the course of the first couple 2-3 rounds? And
I mean, honestly, okay, and we each have 3 teams, so I kind of took a different approach, with all of them, and I'm gonna go with the guys that I don't quite know. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather go with a guy that showed a lot of flash. Like, I mean, Howard kind of had an up and down rookie year, but this year he's going to be the guy, and so I'm willing to put a little bit more into him. Then, at the same time, some of these guys are the same age, basically, but Devontae Freeman, just for whatever reason, he's always been kind of scary to me, and I don't know why. I don't know. Lamar Miller's another one. It's like for years we've been saying he should be. Is he going to finally? Because this is the last year. If he doesn't put up good numbers, I can't consider him an RB1.
So say that you had to argue for Lamar Miller. Why do you think that this could be the year?
I mean, one of the things that you look at, we kind of go around about this, like what do you look at when you're looking at a player? And we talk about game logs, and another thing that we talk about is average. What is the average that a player is? And that kind of. And that honestly, because the whole Crowell argument that we had, he had 4.8 yards per carry. That was inflated by a couple of really good games, but still, if it's over 4, that's what you want to see. So Lamar Miller has been consistently good per carry. It's just that he hasn't gotten the volume, or they're constantly behind in games, like something along those lines. So it's like if the team can be good in the air, he could be good. So if Lamar Miller would have been on Houston 2 years ago when Hopkins was going crazy, 1,500 yards or whatever, then you love him there. we have a new quarterback. We don't know what we're going to have out of, we've got 2 speedsters in Hopkins and Fuller. We hope that that's going to stretch the field. There's a lot of hope, but if he can't make it work, if they can't figure out something, like I feel like Lamar Miller's kind of dead in the water.
I mean, like, I feel like a lot of it hinges on if Deshaun Watson can come in and do anything in that offense.
Yeah.
He's instantly the starter, right? Did they say that Tom Savage is starter for week 1?
Sure.
I think they actually came out and said that, which is ridiculous. But roll your rookie out there and see what he's got.
Well, that to me, it's the same thing. Like it's the Matt Flynn syndrome. Like you say, yeah, this is our guy, and then all of a sudden the other guy is just way better. And I think that Watson is going to prove in camp that he's way better than Savage Garden.
Sure. All right.
So I guess in our particular mock draft, though, with all these question marks surrounding Houston's passing game and their rushing game, we still had Lamar Miller and DeAndre Hopkins go in the second round.
Sure.
Well, but I mean, don't you think it's a little ridiculous for them to fall out of that, though? When you look at what's around them.
Yes. I agree.
I mean, I don't see a situation when you look at the players that are in around that second round area for them to fall past. Who's going in the third round? Like running backs that were going in the third round here. Joe Mixon. We don't. That's really the only one that went. Leonard Fournette. We're basically saying, okay, he's like the best starter for sure. Starter. That's better than a rookie. I wouldn't put him below that. And honestly, he's probably better than he could be better than Devontae Freeman. He could be better than Jordan Howard. Like it won't be that hard for him to be, a top 5, top 7 running back. It's just it has to happen. And it's just we've been saying it for a few years now and people have been beating the drum for him, but it's got to happen.
I mean, the thing that makes me worry, last year he had the most carries he's ever had in his career. He had like 270 almost, I think 268, and he missed 2 games. So if they continue, I don't know if he can handle that full workload, but
I don't know. Like at the same time,
maybe bringing in Deontay Foreman will make a difference. Maybe actually having a formable second running back to run out there because they had garbage.
That is true. Oh, they had garbage. Alfred Blue and was it Brent Grimes?
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't think it was Brent Grimes. I think Brent Grimes is like a safety or a corner or something. But
what really?
I
could have sworn it was
Jonathan Grimes.
Yes, Jonathan Grimes. Okay, I was halfway there.
But let's kind of transition. I want to talk about at least lay out what the draft was on. It was a 12-team PPR redraft. Starting lineup is a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a full flex. So it could be a running back, a wide receiver, a tight end, a kicker, and a defense.
I'll be completely honest. I didn't pay attention to what the parameters were. I'm just drafting.
That's great.
I'll just legitimately, I don't really pay attention to parameters anyway because if I draft 5 great wide receivers, I can trade them.
Sure.
If I draft 5 great running backs, I can trade some, so I usually take best player available in my mind.
You know what? I think that's formable. There's a lot of people that do that. So a lot of people don't even worry about what format it is. So It's good to know that Alex does not care. So let me lay out the first round here. It was 12 picks. David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, and Ezekiel Elliott were the top 4. I think that in most drafts, that's going to be your top 4. 5th was Odell Beckham. 6th, Julio Jones. 7th, Mike Evans. 8th, LaShawn McCoy. 9th, Jordan Howard. 10th, AJ Green. 11th, Melvin Gordon. And 12th, DeMarco Murray.
Right off the bat, the thing that jumps out to me is I think, and I don't know who picked who, but Mike Evans, I feel like, is a more consistent wide receiver than Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham finished higher, but I think if you're looking at week-to-week production, you're looking at Mike Evans being a more stable wide receiver. And honestly, I think that he has a better quarterback. I think they have a better team in general. And I think that I almost said Heath Evans. Mike Evans probably is going to finish right behind Antonio Brown. That's kind of how I'm feeling right now.
Van Cleve, you selected Mike Evans over both, or no, I selected Odell Beckham with the 5th pick. Alex was Julio Jones next, and then you were Mike Evans. Were you happy about that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a supporter with what Alex said. I feel Mike Evans could be the number 1 or 2 wide receiver this year. Just of what they've done in the draft and free agency, I just think that they put enough around James Winston and gave Mike Evans help that he's just going to rise to that next level. He, I feel, is one of the number 1 target. I want to say monsters, I guess, that gets so many targets per game on his team, and then just he gets touchdowns year after year.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Those are huge, especially in PPR.
I mean, to tell you the truth, reading that off, I'm kind of thinking, why did I go Julio there? I mean, Julio is the name, and not saying that Mike Evans isn't a name, but when you look at, okay, who are the ones that people are going to take? Is it, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham, or is it Mike Evans? And Mike Evans is probably going to be third in most of those. He's probably going to go third out of those 3 guys. And honestly, I think that consistency-wise, Mike Evans is a better pick than any of those guys right now.
Does it make you worry at all that in Mike Evans' rookie year, he scored 12 touchdowns? In his sophomore year, he only scored 3. And then in last year, he scored 12 again?
I think that was more people were focused on him. And they didn't do a whole lot because they had nothing around him. They focused on him, then okay, he dropped off in touchdowns, so kind of people laxed on him just a little bit, and then he scored a lot of touchdowns. Well, instead of giving him I don't even remember his first name, but Humphrey as a guy onto the side, they've got so many weapons now. You can't double cover Mike Evans because then they'll just go to one of these other. They've got pass catching running backs, they've got pass catching tight ends. They've got 2 tight ends that legitimately, if they both are, if they have the right game plan, could be like a Gronk and Hernandez type tandem and get just a ton of targets. This team could be amazing.
Wait 1 second. Just to play devil's advocate, don't you think that could drop the touchdowns then?
Maybe.
I feel like that argument would go towards
but the thing is that I think that he's going to be the long threat, even more so than D-Jack. D-Jack is going to be able to stretch the field as well, but I think that Mike Evans is just overall better. He's younger. D-Jack is that kind of smaller guy, and Mike Evans is a little more physical.
Van Cleve, what were you going to say?
Well, you also got to look at that was James Winston's rookie year too.
Yeah.
2015, right?
Yeah, that could be what the year he only got 3 touchdowns. That could be a big factor of why his touchdowns dropped from year to year. And then now that James Winston's got a better hold of the offense, obviously got better rapport with Mike Evans, so he was obviously able to get those touchdowns back. And he leans on him, obviously. He trusts Mike Evans, so he's going to be always looking for Mike Evans.
Right.
Who was that quarterback? 2014.
It was between Glennon and McCown.
Man, that's impressive.
The Chicago special.
Oh God. Okay.
I mean, it's put out there. I love Jameis Winston. I love Mike Evans this year, both. But I wanted to play devil's advocate a little bit and just see if you guys thought that it was possible that he could regress a little bit from what he did last year. No,
I mean, even if you regressed a couple of touchdowns, I still think he's probably the most consistent wide receiver in the league, other than Antonio Brown. I think Antonio Brown's, he's consistent. He's amazing and consistent all the time. Julio Jones and ODB are not consistent, but amazing most of the time.
Yeah.
300 and some yards and then 33 yards for 2 or 3 games. Like that was kind of Julio's year.
Yeah. I get it. Do you think that New York is going to be better this year, though? The Giants? Do you think they improved at all?
They didn't improve where they needed to, and that's quarterback. And I'm not sold on Perkins either, so I'm not sure that running game is going to get going. you know, they
Who did-
have good wide receivers, but I just
Hey Brent, who did New York draft? Did they draft a quarterback?
Yeah, they got Davis Webb.
oh yeah, that's right.
I've heard people say that he could, if Manning flops completely on his ass, that you may see that next year.
I feel like they got a bunch of skill position players. They got Brandon Marshall coming in. They got Wayne Gallman in the draft. Davis Webb. They got Evan Ingram in the draft. But it's like they didn't improve their offensive line, which is really what they needed help with.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't get an offensive tackle till the 6th round. So
Back up to your garbage players that they are.
yeah.
So Van Cleve, what would you say? Are you looking at the draft by chance on?
The Giants, yeah.
No, not the Giants, just ours. I was just going to ask you which pick was your favorite out of those 12.
Of mine or anybody's?
Anybody's in there.
Let me take a look here. Go ahead and talk about something else.
Sure. We had 4 wide receivers go in the first 7 picks and 3 running backs. Like Alex was saying, like I feel like that top 7, top 8's kind of set in stone.
Yeah.
Alex, you said you didn't really like it after LaShawn McCoy. Does that mean you kind of group
Well,
LaShawn McCoy more with Ezekiel Elliott? And
Now that I'm yes, I do group LaShawn McCoy with those kind of guys. I think the one thing is that I went Jordan Howard instead of DeMarco Murray. And the more I think about it, I was like, that was kind of stupid because DeMarco Murray is solid. I mean, I think the only knock on him is that they drafted Derrick Henry so high that you are wondering what are they going to do? Like, are they going to really have a two-person thing where is it going to start getting a little iffy about trusting DeMarco Murray? Like, we don't know yet. So I think that's one little knock against him, but I like him better. Like, as far as like, I would put him ahead of Jordan Howard, and I don't know why I drafted Jordan Howard over DeMarco. I think I was just kind of going with that wild card team there for my third team.
would you put both of those guys over AJ Green? Because I think AJ Green is way up there too. Like a lot of people put AJ Green right with Mike Evans.
Well, we got to
AJ
remember
Green-
this is also a PPR mock draft too.
Exactly.
And the target share that all these wide receivers in this first round get remarkably high.
Right. So don't you think that AJ Green should be before Jordan Howard?
Yeah,
I like the pick that you had, Roman, with T.Y. Hilton. He got him in the middle of the 2nd round.
We're talking about just the first round right now.
He asked me
No,
what my
if
favorite
we're
pick
talking
was.
about me, go ahead and talk about it because I like it.
Well, you asked me what my favorite pick of this draft was, right?
No, I said the
First round.
That's
First
okay.
round.
Oh, the first round.
No, keep talking about how good I am.
No,
Finish
your-
that sentence.
Your first round pick was actually horrible, Romine.
Excuse me?
It was horrible.
What, my first pick?
Yeah, it was just horrible.
I took Antonio Brown. I don't think you
Piece
can
of
screw
garbage.
It was just garbage. Whoever picks him.
that. If you're picking in the first 9 picks, I think that you are gold.
Here's my
I mean, it's really a bad pick in the first round. I mean, you had Jordan Howard above AJ Green. Wasn't, I don't
The
know.
worst pick? Would you say that was the worst pick of the first round?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
okay,
it
Just
was.
because I just don't trust him going to his sophomore year, being on the Bears.
okay. But here's my issue, and
I probably
this is
Brent's
why
with DeMarco Murray getting the last pick.
Alright.
I have to say that, like, and this is just how I play, and so it's kind of more of a like just a personal philosophy than anything else. I feel like there are more wide receivers than good running backs, and I will tend to go running back, even if it's a like maybe 6th or 7th running back versus getting like the 4th best wide receiver. I don't know. Like I can get a wide receiver in the 2nd round if I wanted to. That's going to get 80 catches for 1,200 yards. I mean that's the range that we're talking about for AJ Green. So I mean I'm not a person that will gravitate toward wide receivers, even though it's almost half and half at this point. I still am slightly old school when it comes to that, and I'm going to grab a running back if I still have a running back that I feel like I can trust. And I feel like I can trust Jordan Howard because Jordan Howard's kind of, my Reuben Randall, but actually productive.
Oh shit!
Can I ask you a question then, Alex? Just kind of
what's up?
Jeff and going off that philosophy. So 3 of your teams. Do you mind if I name them off?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So with one pick, you had David Johnson, Devontae Freeman, Alshon Jeffrey, the first 3.
Mm-hmm.
Your other one, you had Julio Jones, Amari Cooper, and Joe Mixon.
Yep.
And then your other one was Jordan Howard, Aaron Rodgers, and Travis Kelce.
Yep.
And which team out of those 3 do you feel more comfortable with?
The first one.
The first one.
Yeah.
With it, and so with David Johnson and Devontae Freeman and Alshon being your first number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean the scary part of that is obviously the injury history, but when Jeffrey is on the field, and I think in Philadelphia, I think he's going to do really well as long as he can stay on the field. And what I can do with wide receivers, to me, I can get 6-7 wide receivers and plug and play those wide receivers. Like I did that last year with my team. I am always more focused on getting running backs because running backs kind of still make things move. Like running backs still are kind of like the jewel of getting your team going most of the time. Now, I'm not saying that, there are plenty of, the philosophies of no RB, and that's what I did with that second team. And I like the second team, but I like having those guys that I know are going to get the yards on running back, and I feel like I can plug and play wide receivers.
Does that answer your question?
Is that it?
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting with your no wide receiver, and then what you thought your best team was. I mean, I really like your Julio Jones, Amari Cooper, Joe Mixon, and then you later actually drafted Eddie Lacy too, which I thought you actually got a good value for. I know Eddie's from the Seahawks,
but right there, like, okay, Jeffrey is a starter. Mixon isn't even a starter. You see what I'm saying? Like, and Eddie Lacy, I don't know if he's a starter, So even though I got those 2 stud wide receivers, by the time I got to the 3rd and 4th, I'm grabbing guys that I'm hoping are good. Whereas, even if, Jeffrey is good, 10 games, I can get guys that are going to get, 6 or 7 catches for 80 to 90 yards and hopefully get a touchdown. Running back, it's a little more scarce, and you're starting kind of like you're going after a lot of hope after if you go no RB, in my opinion.
Right. Let me read off the second round here just to put a little context to it. So coming back, it was a snake draft. So going back from the 12th pick up to the 1st, we had Michael Thomas, Jordy Nelson, Des Bryant. Aaron Rodgers was the first quarterback off the board with the 4th pick of the second round. Then T.Y. Hilton, Lamar Miller, Amari Cooper, Jay Ajayi, Rob Gronkowski, Todd Gurley, DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Foreman. Was there anything in there that really surprised you, Brent?
I think that Devontae Foreman went.
I don't care about your opinion, Alex. Shut up. I want Brent's opinion, but I don't know if he's there. Fuck.
No, it's because you said Foreman instead of Freeman.
I think it was.
No. Yeah, Devontae Freeman.
I think it was a little surprising how far Cooper and Gronkowski dropped. I kind of felt like they might actually go a little bit higher, but that's only based on previous year's drafts, and I think people might be a little more timid to draft them this year.
Really, Gronk? You're surprised that he dropped to where he was? Honestly, I was kind of shocked that he went as high as he did.
Well, only because he's been a first rounder for a lot of people for about 3 or 4 straight years. So I feel like him dropping to the back half of the second round was pretty good value based on previous year's expectations.
I think it was like maybe, 2 or 3 years ago after he had that injury, he was as far as auction value, his auction value was super low.
Yeah, I agree, Brent, that I still like his value there. I think it was good value, but I agree with Alex as well. I could see him falling to the end of the second round in drafts this year. I think that's almost where you should be pegging for him. If you want to take him in the middle of the second, though, I don't think there's a problem with that.
No, I don't have an issue with that at all.
He's still clearly the best tight end available this year.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and I don't have any problem getting him in the second round. It's just like I don't necessarily think that he should be taken in the first round.
I think for like the last 3 years we've had Gronk and then this huge separation and then everybody else. I think this year like that separation's grown a little bit closer.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah, for sure.
But also,
I mean, you got Kelsey and Reed, and even with Greg Olsen and stuff like that. I think that there are probably, and even Delaney Walker can be thrown into that conversation. Like, you don't need to go out and get a tight end in the first round. You can go and get the pieces you need, and get a tight end in the third or fourth if you really want to have some support at tight end.
Yeah, I don't think Gronk is a first round pick this year at all. Like,
no,
not even the 12th pick.
Well, and I mean, the way that they've been talking about him is just that, like, oh, well, maybe his body's just falling apart at this point. So that's a little scary. I don't really buy into that, but it's still scary to hear that kind of like.
Well, the dude was at WrestleMania, so he's okay. He was out there.
He's all right.
Yeah, I think he's fine. He was out there doing his thing, being Gronk, slamming beers and kicking ass. That's what he does. What was your favorite pick of that second round, Alex?
Not Des Bryant. I hate him. Oh gosh. Oh yeah. I'm drawing a blank on what it actually even was.
You're terrible.
I know. I'm drawing a blank. I wish I had it in front of me. Where can I find our spreadsheet?
If you would make a spreadsheet, you would be able to do that. But I'll go ahead and send it to you. Josh, are you looking at the draft at all, or am I the only one that's literally looking at this draft? Because if I am, that's a huge disappointment.
I mean,
yes, Roman, I am looking at it.
Okay.
Why wasn't it put in the Google Drive so that we could all see it?
So why didn't you just make a spreadsheet? Is my question.
Well, I mean, Roman, let's face it. You're the slave driver of this whole thing. Why don't you put something in there so we have access to it?
Well, I just sent it to you. I just sent it to you via text. And honestly, on this one, I didn't do it on Google Drive for the first time in my life. Brent had suggested that I download the Microsoft Excel app and use that, which
Okay, I've got it right here. I love the fact that you come back around, and Romain, this is a little bit of kudos to you. Might be the only time this year. You've gone through, Lamar Miller's off the board, a lot of questions. Ajayi is off the board, a lot of questions, and Todd Gurley has a lot of questions as well. But Todd Gurley, I feel like, has the skill set that he could be a top 3 running back. I don't see that from. I'm not sure I see that from Lamar Miller, and I don't see that from Ajayi. So the fact is that you were able to get him, how many off the board? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the 10th running back off the board, I feel can be a top 3 back. And if they do something right, that's going to be a hell of a steal.
Yeah, and unfortunately, let me throw the kudos back to you because I almost went Devontae Freeman there, which you took with the last pick of the second round, which with as much crap as Devontae Freeman gets for not being the workhorse, you know what I mean? Like, he's just a receiver.
Yeah.
He's very, very talented. And I think you getting him there at that value, I was super on the fence about which one to go with. So Todd Gurley, I think, has that intrigue, you know what I mean? Like, you want to know what he has to give. I think we know what Devontae Freeman is. We're not really sure what Todd Gurley is yet.
No,
could he be
right.
what he showed his rookie year, or could he be the garbage fire that pretty much all of the Rams were last year?
And see, that's the thing, is that we saw flat, and we saw a lot in the beginning of the year until people were stacking the box, and then they continue to stack the box because there was nothing to worry about in LA. And so it's going to be interesting to see if they've actually done something to change that. And I'm not sure if they have. Like, we'll see. Like, I know that they got a couple more wide receivers, but they got a couple wide receivers last year that we were kind of like looking at, seeing and they never even saw the field. So I have a hard time looking at the Rams as a legitimate team, but could they figure out a way to get Todd Gurley going? I'm hoping so. I mean, last year was so bad.
They changed out the coaching staff. Like,
yeah,
the Rams made changes. So I think that's where I would be more intrigued to see what they do, because they did. They brought in some new guys this year in the draft. So
I think that Goff might just be a dum-dum.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're wrong, because I actually like the Rams. Like, they've got a lot going for them, and obviously, like, I like Gurley still this year. I think that if you get him at the end of the second round, which is where I would be shooting for him to go, I think that's a very good value. Van Cleve, you have feelings on this second round?
Yeah, back to my original statement, T.Y. Hilton. I thought you had a good value when you drafted him there.
Do you put T.Y. above any of those guys that went before him? Michael Thomas, Jordy Nelson, Des Bryant?
Definitely above Michael Thomas.
Yep.
Des Bryant. I say above Des Bryant because Des Bryant has a little bit of injury, and I just trust Luck a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's tough for Jordy Nelson because Jordy Nelson had probably one of his best years last year's, and everybody thought it was an off year with the Packers and stuff because they weren't really doing much like the Packers do before. But he ended up being the second wide receiver ranked in fantasy.
Jordy Nelson's good.
I mean, anybody right before him?
Okay, well, let me ask you another question. What do you think was the worst pick of that round? Because I want to make fun of somebody, even if it's myself. Lay it on me. I'm ready for it.
Let me find your pick then, Romain.
Is there really a terrible pick in that second round?
I think Aaron Rodgers in the second round, like the fourth pick of the second round, was way too early, which Alex made. Which I know that you said that was your team that you were trying something different with. I think that's way too early to go Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, that's kind of where he's going, right?
I guess I don't really know yet. I don't know where ADP is kind of laid out. I think that this is. I don't know.
I think you could have got a wide receiver or even a running back, since how high you think running backs should be valued. I think you could take a running back. I mean,
but here's the reason:
Miller, Jay, Todd Gurley, who you're talking about.
But right there, okay, those three guys, are any of them a sure thing? Aaron Rodgers is a pretty sure thing, and when I'm all three of those are
RB1.
Well, but listen. Jordan Howard already is a question mark. So I'm going to have two question marks. I mean, you had that same problem last year. You had Carlos Hyde, you had CJ Anderson, and how'd that work out? It didn't, because those question guys are great when you have something that's there that you can anchor your team to. Because if not, then I could have gone Andrew Luck in the fourth. I could have grabbed Andrew Luck, and that might have been absolutely fine. And like I said, that one I'm kind of going. It's like, okay, I went Jordan Howard, so I kind of already feel shaky. So I'm gonna see if I just keep going with kind of a shaky team, what I'm going to end up with in the end. Like, am I going to have a lot of potential players in the end? Am I going to end up with just a crap team? I don't know.
That team, I feel like if you went T.Y. Hilton there instead of Aaron Rodgers, Tyreek Hill right now is your best wide receiver on that team.
He's the only wide receiver.
He's the only wide receiver.
Yeah. By default, he is best.
C.J. Anderson is highlighted as a wide receiver, but
I know. I just changed it on mine. But you got Jordan Howard, C.J. Anderson are your running backs. Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback, and Travis Kelce is your tight end.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is your only wide receiver. in a PPR league. Makes me a little bit worried.
I'll tell you right now, I am never worried about because like I said, to me, wide receiver, I can just grab somebody off of the shelf in most cases. There's so many wide receivers, and even the best ones are so sporadic, other than a couple that we talked about, that I mean, yeah, I'd love to have a Julio Jones on a team where I don't have any running backs, but that's kind of where I was. I mean, I just wanted to see what it was going to look like. And do I like it? Absolutely not. I fucking hate this team. But the thing is that
it's the worst team.
I mean, it's just, what am I going to end up in the end? Like, I know that the beginning part of this draft is not going to be great for this team. I'm wondering, can I get enough potential in the bottom that makes the team at least interesting if we're like playing in a dynasty thought process? Like, is there enough that maybe I don't play for this year, I'm more playing for other years? And I don't have a problem playing that way, and I know a lot of people do, but I don't have a problem saying, okay, I need to be competitive this year, but I've got all these guys in the back burner that I can bring in, and I could be a dominant team going forward in like years 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, sure, I get it, but let me lay out the third round now. I know we've been kind of talking about these players hit or miss on there, but the third round, like coming around, Alex had the first pick. He had drafted Devontae Foreman. They turned and went Alshon Jeffrey. Yeah, Freeman. God damn it. Fuck. I don't know why I keep doing that. I honestly think I'm secretly scared that Deontay Foreman is going to overtake Lamar Miller.
Yeah.
I think in the back of my head, it's there. Or it could be the beer, and maybe I should have eaten more today. So, but anyways, so Alshon Jeffrey, then Leonard Fournette was the first rookie taken with the second pick of the third round.
I like that pick.
Then Jarvis Landry, Sammy Watkins, Allen Robinson, Joe Mixon was the second rookie coming off with the sixth pick of the second round. Then Doug Baldwin, Demaryius Thomas, Travis Kelce, Brandon Cooks, Keenan Allen, and Jordan Reed ended it off. Brent, we have not heard from you very much. What did you like about that third round?
There's a lot of those guys are grouped in kind of like the same tiers almost. Between, they're not the greatest running backs, but they're not. And same thing with the wide receivers. Like, you can still get wide receiver ones in there. I didn't see a lot that I didn't like. Like, it's kind of like where I thought most of those guys would actually go. I might have had the order a little bit differently, but yeah, there's not a whole lot I didn't like. I thought Joe Mixon might have gone a round too early, but that was really like the only critical thing I had about round 3.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, just looking at it though, you come back around on that, and it's like, okay, if he would have gone a round early, for me to have gotten him, like, I would have had to pick from Eddie Lacy, Spencer Ware, Carlos Hyde, Christian McCaffrey, and I don't like any of those at that spot either. So I was basically just choosing because I wanted a running back because I had just gone wide receiver. Like, I felt like I had to select, because I didn't want to take a tight end either. So I don't know.
Well, I know that you said that pick, you were looking for somebody that had like that running back one potential.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it's a shot in the dark, but.
And if it works out, that's going to – but if it doesn't work out, you have Eddie Lacy right now.
Yeah. That's why I don't draft no running back. I'm just not going to do it in most cases, because that's teams that I've ever done wide receiver, like no running back. This is what I get. Like, I get these running backs that just don't put it up enough numbers, and then I'm scrounging trying to find a wide receiver or a running back. When if I go 4 running backs in a row, I can still find wide receivers that will get things done for me. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, Brent, I don't know. Who would you have chose in my spot, in that Mixon spot? Who would you have picked?
Well, I mean, being a PPR league, I think you probably could have gone another wide receiver there. Put him in your flex spot. Only because all those running backs are kind of grouped together.
Yeah, but look,
Joe Mixon does have probably one of the highest upsides, though. So if you didn't want to wait to, he might not have made it back around. But
you can make that argument, except for the fact that the people that went before it would have been those guys that you were looking for the PPR. Because after that, you've got Doug Baldwin, Demaryius Thomas, Brandon Cooks, Keenan Allen. None of those guys moved the needle to me. That
in PPR,
no, well, definitely not Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, he'd be the only outlier. Doug Baldwin's kind of like a slimer kind of wide receiver guy. Demaryius
Keenan
Thomas,
Allen,
he's always been kind of PPR.
6 snaps.
Demaryius he could, Thomas, but he's also in PPR. He's valued a lot higher.
But the problem is that there's been 2 years in a row where you haven't even gotten anything. I don't want to waste my pick on a guy that might get hurt. I don't know.
Like I said, I get it, but I could see Mixon going in round 3. I just thought round too early. But based on your draft with that team, I see why you did.
Wow, this is fantastic.
No, Brett, you're breaking up so bad.
We got Romine and VC both muted, and then we got me talking, and then we've got Brent going. Third round.
It was horrible. I had to pee so bad, and then I come back to Brent just cutting in and out.
Alex asked a good question to Britt, but then it's just like,
sweet baby Jesus. I need Josh, you've been working a lot. Can you please buy Brent some sort of device that works so that when he does this podcast, we can understand him?
It's his internet connection.
Well, he's doing it on his phone now, so.
Well, but even still, he shouldn't have that much of a problem.
Alex, figure out what's wrong with his internet connection, please.
I know. I need to get over there.
Oh my God, this is off.
I don't understand how Brett has worse internet than I do. I have the most basic internet.
No, it's not the internet. It's his modem. His modem is garbage.
You need a Nighthawk, is what you need.
His modem is probably from 1990. He just has it duct taped up because he doesn't buy any new technology.
Shit, no, Brent talks about finding $200 in his wallet back behind.
He doesn't even have to, but he doesn't even have to pay for it. You don't even have to pay for it. You just have to call and make them send you one.
Well, he'll still have to pay for it, but yeah.
Brent, can you hear any of this, or you just gonna take it?
He's probably still answering the question. We should
You guys are mean.
Oh my God. Well,
he's probably still answering the question.
That was pretty funny, Van Cleve. I'll give you that. That was a good one. Let's go ahead and move it and talk about round 4. I'll list off the picks again.
Fourth round.
All right. So our 4th round was coming back around from the 12th pick down. So Brent had taken Jordan Reed with the last pick of the 3rd round. He takes Michael Crabtree, then Christian McCaffrey, Carlos Hyde, CJ Anderson, Greg Olson, Spencer Ware, Eddie Lacy, Golden Tate, Marshawn Lynch, Andrew Luck, Fitzgerald, and Terrell Pryor.
I literally hate this round.
Yeah. What? So if you hate it, what did you like about it? Was there anything?
I love. I will. In most cases, I will never take a quarterback this high. But I love getting Andrew Luck. 2 rounds after Aaron Rodgers, because I think if the stars align in Indianapolis and they can kind of figure stuff out, I think that Luck is the number 2, has a possibility of being the number 1 quarterback. So I like the value of waiting 2 rounds and getting that type of player. I feel like Marshawn Lynch is super early. I know that's probably where he's going to be drafted, but I do not want to use a 4th round pick on a guy that's been out of football and over 30. That's crazy to me.
Well,
Absolutely insane.
I think that's a guy that we need to talk about because he is going there. I think he's going higher, actually.
It's freaking ridiculous.
Brent, you're the one that
crazy.
drafted him, right? I think you took him with the 8th pick of the 4th round. Why did you decide that was the time?
It's all based on opportunity in Oakland behind that offensive line.
Yes,
that's it.
I mean, I understand. And you know, in a mock draft, I think that you need to try those kinds of things out and see how your team shakes out. I'm just looking at it and just baffled that this is a thing. Like, because he didn't draft out of turn. Like, I'm not saying that he drafted out of turn or anything like that, like overdrafted. I just think that the entire thought process of drafting a guy that's over 30 that's been out of the game for a year is ludicrous. Like, it's crazy.
What's also crazy to think is he may have gotten a steal.
Yeah, could.
I don't think it's possible.
Well, just what you guys said, the opportunity. They trade away Latavius Murray. They signed a guy who was retired over 30 because they feel he's a better option than Latavius Murray.
Okay,
and they have a.
Is he
not necessarily true? They think he's a better option than maybe DeAndre Washington or
how is that
Jalen
not? They got rid of Latavius Murray. How is that not obvious?
They didn't get rid of him. They let him walk.
They let him walk.
They cut him.
But VC's right though because they let him go. I mean, they didn't re-sign him.
They could have got running back in the draft.
Yeah.
Or but yet they signed a retired player over 30. Yeah. Like, so they thought he was a better option than Murray. But what I'm getting is it's that offensive line is probably second behind Dallas. And so the run behind that, he could be a possible steal. Do I think I agree with you? It's ludicrous to think that a 30-year-old running back is going to come back and just be a monster. But who knows? I mean,
I have a feeling that weeks 1 through 7 or 8, this could look like the greatest pick ever, the greatest value. But 8 through 16 or 17, I guess, I think you're going to see a big drop off. Because, first of all, Marshawn Lynch was the most overworked running back in the league for those last 4 or 5 years that he was in the league. He was getting an enormous amount of carries. His body has been beaten up. And, yeah, he had a year off, but he also had a year to get old. So, I mean, is it possible that he could be good? Yes. I think it's more likely that he is just okay. Even behind that line, like, yes, that line is good, but is an old Marshawn Lynch better than a peak Latavius Murray? I don't know, and I think that's my problem with the pick.
So, are the Seahawks on the chain for paying his contract? Like, I don't even know really what the deal was. I know that Oakland and Seattle had switched picks, but could it be that Oakland's just doing this from a PR stance? Like, Marshawn Lynch is an Oakland guy. Like, he's from Oakland, I believe. Like, that's his area. He does work with the kids. Like, could they be bringing him in just kind of as a
because this whole new stadium moving to Las
because they're moving, because they got all this crap going on where they're trying to bring in something to keep fans listening. Like, that's what I worry about.
I don't know. I mean, didn't they have enough by them winning? Like, finally actually being good? And that's the thing.
I don't think so. They were good, and then they decided to move. I think that's what would piss fans off.
Well, I see. I see what you're getting.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Now, the one thing, though, is that Oakland's kind of done this before. They go after old running backs and throw them on. I mean, if you remember, Maurice Jones-Drew finished his career as a Raider. You know, I mean, like, they haven't put a lot of focus at that position. They haven't drafted since Darren McFadden, they haven't drafted a high draft pick for running back. And, you know, they've got these two guys that seemingly they're not super thrilled with, and understandably so. Like, we had a lot of hope for Washington, not a lot going on. You know, you even look at is it Richards or Rogers? I keep forgetting.
Richard.
Richard.
It's Richard, I think, actually.
Jalen Richard.
Yes.
There was some potential there, but I don't think that he's an every down back. So, yeah, you could be right. Could be a little bit of a PR move, but at the same time, it's like you got him for a year, maybe. Like, how long is he going to play?
Well,
and and is he going to be effective? There's just a lot of questions with that.
Yeah, it scares me. I think that was a scary pick. But like, I'm probably not going to end up with Marshawn Lynch in any leagues because I won't draft him.
As soon as somebody crosses the finish line of 30, I won't even touch you. So I don't even. I mean, even 29, I'm like, I don't know. Do you turn 30 during the year? Because it's like, seriously, they turn 30 and they turn to garbage in most cases.
Sure.
And I don't know why.
Sure. With the second to last pick of that round, Van Cleve took Larry Fitzgerald. He was pretty good last year. Like, caught a lot of balls. Like, early in the year, he was awesome, and they kind of fell off a little bit. Van Cleve.
You kind of expect that now.
Like, is that what you expect of him this year? You think he's going to start out hot again and then not do anything? Van Cleve, you took him over Terrell Pryor, Emmanuel Sanders, Julian Edelman, Brandon Marshall, Devontae Adams.
I mean, looking down into it, I feel this is Fitzgerald's last year, so I think he's going to try maximizing the most out of this year. Because I really think it's him and Carson Palmer's last year. And they're going to try making a push for a title as much as they can. I don't know if they can get there, but then also thinking, what other receivers do they have there?
And that's why they went to the draft for it, I think.
I mean, yeah, but
John Brown, he didn't do all that great last year. They have Jalen Brown, and I don't know.
So like any consistent wide receivers on that team?
I mean, they have J.J. Nelson,
Andre Ellington. He's a wide receiver now.
That's true, but
no.
Carson Palmer and Larry Fitzgerald have a rapport together, and this seems to be his main guy. And when Carson Palmer's good, typically Fitzgerald is good as well. So, and I just think this going to be last season. I think they're just going to try making a push for it. So I think they're actually going to both have a really good season.
Neither one of them have rings, so I could see it. One thing, VC, is I'm kind of looking at this, and it's like you got for that team, you got Le'Veon Bell, you got Leonard Fournette. Then you ended up, and we'll get to the fifth round where you take Frank Gore, but you have a stable of running backs you really don't have to worry about. I mean, unless there's an injury or something along those lines, you're set there. Then you kind of have a risky pick with Hopkins. I kind of see Fitzgerald, like you could have gone Terrell Pryor, but the problem with going that route, I feel, is that you would have had two big question marks at your wide receiver position, and you were already you're already so set at running back that you could kind of, Hopkins could be a top 5 wide receiver. You're not looking for that out of Fitzgerald. And we're not quite sure what Terrell Pryor is going to be with the Redskins. So Fitzgerald is kind of that safe pick that you can get some stable numbers out of and hope that Hopkins ends up being like, a top 5 player. And so I kind of look at that, and it's a very safe pick. But I think looking at his team, I think that was a smart move to make.
Yeah, you said it right. It's one of those safe picks. That's also why I did Frank Gore as far as insurance too at running back.
Yeah,
as well. Yeah. So because if Hopkins hits, I think he can be a top 5 wide receiver, and so if there is some risk involved there. He's got the talent, and we thought he was quarterback proof, but the Brockster got him.
Oof, he did.
And Brock sucks.
How is that even? How like that horrible carousel that they had at quarterback? How did Brachiosaurus Rex figure out how to screw it all up?
He's terrible.
I mean, it is impressive.
He's horrible.
He's impressive, is what he is.
Let's go ahead and I'll read off the 5th round. We can go back and talk about another 4th round pick, but I want to get it out there because, like you said, Alex, you took Terrell Pryor with the last pick of the 4th round. You turned and you took Derek Carr. Then don't talk yet.
Okay.
And then we took Frank Gore, Emmanuel Sanders, Julian Edelman, Isaiah Crowell, Delaney Walker, Brandon Marshall, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Tom Brady, Amir Abdullah, and Dalvin Cook. So you took Derek Carr.
And I'm going.
Explain yourself.
Here's my explanation. I would do that every single time, had it not been for the conversation that screwed up my brain, thinking that Edelman and Emmanuel Sanders were gone. You guys were discussing it, and in my head, I thought they were gone because I was debating between them, and then I ended up going with a different pick. So in my head, those two guys were gone. I would have gone Emmanuel Sanders all day on that pick. But in my head, he was gone, and I hated everything that came after it. So I was like, I'm going to go with a quarterback. So that's my bad. I would have rather got him, a little bit later, but I looked at the landscape. I didn't really want Matt Forte, Matt Ryan, and looking at some other guys. And I'm a big Derek Carr fan, and like I said, I would make that pick again if it not for the fact that Emmanuel Sanders and Julian Edelman were sitting there, and I just thought they were gone.
All right. Well,
Mistakes
I'll
are
accept
made.
that. I accept that as an answer. Brent, what did you like about this round?
I like, once again, for the fact that it's a PPR league, you can still get Emmanuel Sanders and Julian Edelman falling to the 5th round.
Yeah.
Even Devontae Adams, he showed a lot of promise last year as a PPR receiver too.
And I know that was my pick, so I loved it. I thought that getting Devontae Adams there with the 7th pick of the 5th round, I thought it was a steal.
I think it's a good pick. He still frightens me a little bit. Just like it is I don't know. They bounce back and forth. One time, this wide receiver was the main guy. And they moved it around so much that they kind of felt like New Orleans, other than Jordy Nelson, really. I mean, but even still, Jordy Nelson wasn't really consistent all throughout the season. So I don't know. Devontae Adams scares me a little, but I don't hate the pick. He just scares me a little bit.
Van Cleve, what pick was your favorite?
Of the 5th round?
Mm-hmm. It can even be your own if you want.
No, I'm sure you want me to talk about one of your picks.
I mean, I made a lot of good ones, so I think that's quite evident
You know what?
this podcast.
I got a good one here. Isaiah Crowell.
As good or bad, lay it out there.
Oh, I think it's one of the best picks of the draft of all time.
So it was the 5th pick of the 5th round, and I know you're being a bit facetious.
I'm just being an instigator, really.
Let's talk about it, because let's all address the elephant in the room. Alex hates Isaiah Crowell. I think that Isaiah Crowell could be a sneaky running back 1 possibility that you can get in this spot. Tell me who you agree with. Go.
Well, to be honest with you, it's actually surprising. So the Browns didn't go after any running backs in free agency, nor did they go in this draft. They have multiple 1st rounds and 2nd round picks, and they decided not to use any of them on a running back. Kind of tells me that they're happy with Crowell. They see that he's a serviceable running back that's not one of the desperate needs that they need to go after. They did booster that offensive line. So I do think that he can be a serviceable. He's an RB1 in a league that's scarce. If there's not 2 running backs, there's not very many true bell cows. You do have Duke Johnson there, but to be honest with you, he's not as scary as competitive. So I lean more towards a Romine, like that. 5th round, picking an RB1 up. There's not many other RBs out there that can be serviceable in fantasy at this point. So I think Isaiah Crowell could be. I don't think he's gonna be a top 5 running back by all means, but I think he's gonna be.
Nobody ever said he was gonna be a top 5 running back. I want to make that perfectly clear right now. Nobody has ever said that.
But I do think that he's for a 5th round running back, and also to to go along with your draft for that team right there, because I mean you have so he's just checking running backs. You have Jay Ajayi, Isaiah Crowell, so you're a little bit sketchy there at running back as far as trusting them. But if Jay Ajayi does what he did last year and Crowell is steady, it's not actually a bad team there.
That's Odell Beckham, Allen Robinson, Golden Tate, Jay Ajayi, and Isaiah Crowell. I'm okay with that start.
Yeah, just hopefully Allen Robinson. I don't know what happened last year. I'm blaming that on Blake Bortles.
Fuck Blake Bortles. I hate him.
Mm-hmm.
You two have like love-hate for
I love him. I loved him so much, but I mean, I had to admit that he was garbage. His mechanics were so bad. Like that's one of the things that since starting to do like this podcast and things, I pay attention to more than just the surface stuff. And one of those things is footwork for any player, how they're throwing the ball for quarterbacks, how they're running, like hitting the gaps and things like that for running backs. And my God, Blake Bortles just looks like he is a teenager playing on a dirt field. Like he looks like crap. And I would, I hope he turns it around, but God, terrible.
I hope he does too, but I'm starting to think he's I really do, because I kind of like Jacksonville. I like Fournette coming into there. I like Allen Robinson. I've talked about how much I like D.D. Westbrook, like off the podcast. Like I think that he could come in and make kind of an impact in Jacksonville if Marquise Lee and who's the other guy? I can't remember. Name's escaping me. Yes, Earns. If they don't work out, I think that he could come in there and they could be, serviceable as far as like a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. But
I'm going to say that Crowell is by far the worst starting slated running back in the league. So, I let Van Cleef talk. I didn't interrupt him at all, but I'm going to have to put that out there and just lay that there before we leave, because this is the most ludicrous thing I have heard in years.
Tell us why, Alex. The floor is yours.
I could start a podcast about how ridiculous the thought process is. The man, other than 4 games, he was dreadful. Dreadful. Look at his numbers. They are ridiculously bad. And we're basing him being great off of 4 games. And it blows my mind. He has never had over 1,000 yards. He has never been that guy. And the fact that you are thinking that that's going to happen in year 4 is the most ridiculous damn thing I have heard in a long time. That's all I have to say.
Blah, 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 blah.
It's all right. You're going to be buying me dinner for it, so it doesn't really matter.
I bought you it last year. I enjoy your company, so it's a win-win for me.
I mean, that is true.
Like the thing about Isaiah Crowell, like that I told you off the podcast, is that I love the situation he's coming into. I really do. I think that, like Van Cleef was saying, they didn't bring in anybody else. They obviously
had so many things that they needed to fix. Like you can't look at that.
And obviously, no, you can look at that because they figured that running back is not the issue. They would rather fix those other things instead of running back. So let him come in there, because if they can improve, like there's nothing to say he can't be a 1,200-yard rusher, score 7-8 touchdowns. I'm just saying, like
1,200 yards. Like this is like the Tyrod thing where you're over projecting him.
So you think that you think that 230 yards more than he did last year, coming in as a starter in an improved offense, is unattainable, not possible.
Crowell, yes.
You're ridiculous that you're saying it's not possible. Like, what I want you to acknowledge is that it's at least a possibility.
He's not
good.
Say it. Because if you take away that 160-yard game, which I'm not sure. Say what?
That he could do it. It's possible. It is attainable. Yes.
Oh my God. He's not gonna, like, can he rush for over 1,000? Okay. Is he going to rush for 1,200 yards? I
But
think
the fact that
is
you say-
that's crazy.
The fact that you
You're
say
saying
that
he's
could,
going to be consistently good when he's been consistently bad with a couple of sprinkled in good games.
I think that he could have more of those sprinkled in good games. Say like 6 times this year he goes for over 100 yards. I think that you are being ridiculous by saying that it's not possible for him to reach 1,200 yards. But
Has
it's
more
possible for him to reach
20-yard
1,000
games than
yards.
he had 100.
Yeah, because Cleveland was a shit show last year. If they can turn it around this year,
You can't turn around a team day one. It usually takes, and we discussed this, it takes time throughout the season to get a team going. Those guys that they added to their line were not great run blockers because the teams they were playing for did not do well with running. Jacksonville and Chicago, well, Chicago is just a guard and he's probably a backup, but in Green Bay, like they could be good, but I'm sorry. Like I think that it's a crazy thought process.
Brent, do you have an opinion on this?
Team Crowell.
Yes.
That is not that doesn't add anything that actually says that he's going to be good other than they got better players. Well, yeah, okay. So that means that any running back that got good players. I mean, Latavius Murray had an amazing situation.
Don't you dare talk about Latavius Murray.
No, but I mean that's the thing. Like he's kind of that same lackluster player, and just because you put better people in front of him doesn't mean he's going to run better.
I just want you to acknowledge that the fact that 1,200 yards is possible. That's all I want you to say.
Is it possible in the grand scheme of everything that is? Yes, he could. Some crazy
stop the tapes. Where are we at in this recording? I want somebody to.
He could also run for 2,000. He could run for 3,000. He could run for 10,000 yards in one season.
I'm in the podcast on that.
Oh God, that's amazing. I think that we all know. I think that Isaiah Crowell could be a sleeper this year. I think that he could be somebody that you draft in the 5th round that gives you that running back 1 number. So, Alex, I know that you don't believe it, but 3 of us think that could happen. So,
based
one,
on zero information.
Well, you're ridiculous for saying that because there is information. A lot of it. We're talking a lot of speculation, but you're right. If we're looking at purely game logs, then it's not likely. But on that note, let's go ahead and wrap this bad boy up because this has been a fun talk, but we need to go to sleep. So, does anybody have any parting words? Alex, do you want to tell me I'm right?
At the end, I'm gonna be up till 2 a.m. now. Damn it!
All right. Well, everybody, you can hop on Twitter, follow us at 4 Horsemen Pod. Get on email us 4horsemenpod@gmail.com. We're on there. I check it on the regular, especially right now because we're doing our mock draft on there. So I'm on there about 17 times a day. Follow us, email, do all the fun stuff that comes along with that. But peace. We'll talk next week. Later.